Hey everyone, welcome back to She Tried It. Today's video is a bit different. As y'all can probably tell from most of the content on my channel, unboxing videos aren't really my thing. I more so show completed makes and share about the designer, the difficulty of the pattern, and any modifications I might have made, and the yarn I used for that project. However, I recently made a video for my bestie, Alexandra for Two of Wands, for her yarn release with Lion brand called Color Theory. Y'all loved it. Why didn't y'all tell me y'all liked unboxing videos? Well, now that I know that, that's what we're doing today. I'm gonna share with y'all 7 different yarns from Universal Yarn. I'm gonna show a knit and crochet swatch, share the fiber content, the care instructions, the amount of yarn that comes with each skein, any other information I think you need to know, and most importantly, which pattern I suggest you use this yarn with. I hope y'all are ready for a virtual yarn shopping trip with Universal Yarn, so sit back, relax, grab your tea, and let's take a look at these yarns. Oh, and of course, there are timestamps below for each section of this video, so let's get started. Your eyes are not deceiving you. You read that right. This is Curio yarn from Universal Yarn. Y'all have no clue how excited I was to try this yarn, for obvious reasons. But this is Curio yarn from Universal Yarn, specifically in the color Conch. This Curio yarn has a fiber content of 75% superwash merino wool and 25% nylon. Each 100 gram skein comes with 437 yards of yarn. This yarn is classified as a super fine yarn. The care instructions suggest machine washing cold on the gentle or delicate cycle and tumble drying on low heat. Y'all, basically, this is a thin, durable wool yarn. I could definitely make some magic with a yarn like this. Also, the color options this comes in are absolutely fabulous. The website suggests using this for socks, which I also think would be an amazing idea. But before I hype this yarn up too much, let's do some quick swatches. It's recommended that this yarn be crocheted with a 2.75 to a 3.5 millimeter hook. I decided to go with a 2.75 millimeter hook. My initial thoughts while crocheting this yarn were that I think I'm in love. There was no splitting with this yarn. This color was lovely. The yarn had the faintest halo around it, which made the swatch look extremely dreamy. Just FYI, for all the crochet swatches in this video, I'm doing a simple half double crochet stitch. My theory is if this yarn looks good with a basic stitch, it'll look amazing with a fancier stitch. This yarn recommends a needle size of 2.25 to 3.5 millimeters, so I decided to use my 3.5 millimeter needles. I'll be using a simple garter stitch for all my knit swatches. Again, there were no issues when creating this knit swatch. This yarn was super smooth, soft, and glided through my needles effortlessly. Also, the halo looked just as lovely on the knit swatch as it did on the crochet one. All in all, I love how the knit and crochet swatch turned out. I give this yarn 5 stars for both. Now I'm wondering, am I just in love with every yarn named Curio? As far as when it comes to pattern suggestions, I highly suggest using this yarn to crochet the Stroll Sweater by Ksenia Designs. Feel free to check out that video. I'll be sure to link directly to each yarn and pattern suggestion video in the description box below. If you're unable to find this yarn on the website, that might be because at the time of making this video, Curio is being rebranded and renamed to Uni Merino. This next yarn is quite new for me. This is Java in the color Golden Sun. I love this color. This yarn is 100% hemp. I don't think I've ever worked with hemp before, so I have no clue what I'm in for. Based on the touch alone, this yarn felt like jute, except it was a bit softer and comes in some amazing colors. This yarn is extremely durable and perfect for any home decor projects. It's classified as a medium weight yarn and comes with 291 yards in every 100 gram ball. The care instructions suggest machine washing on a gentle or delicate cycle and tumble drying on low heat. This is a great natural yarn that's easy on the environment. This yarn suggests using a crochet hook size of 4.5 millimeters. That's exactly what I used. In making this swatch, I noticed how much softer this yarn was than jute. While it feels extremely durable, it's not as stiff as jute that I've used in the past. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I think this yarn would be perfect for a beginner. I think a yarn with this much structure is perfect for a beginner that struggles with seeing their stitches. Using a yarn like this, it's almost impossible to miss a stitch. One thing I will say to be cautious of when using this yarn is to keep in mind that it does shed a bit. It doesn't shed nearly as much as when I use jute, but you can see those little bits of hemp on my blanket. While this is not a deal breaker at all, just be sure to have a little vacuum nearby if this is something that might annoy you. The website suggested a 4mm needle for this yarn. Now, I don't claim to know all there is to know about knit and crochet patterns, but I don't think I've ever seen a knit pattern that used hemp yarn. I know I definitely haven't completed a knit pattern using something like this. With that in mind, I struggled a bit when knitting with this yarn, but y'all tell me, have y'all ever knit with hemp? I knew I was clearly doing something wrong. I'm not sure if I wasn't using the best stitch or what, but this wasn't my favorite experience. Regardless, the swatch didn't look completely terrible. I think I messed up with binding off, but the texture is definitely there. And it looks great on the parts I did right. While I did recommend a beginner crocheter using this yarn, I don't have the same recommendation for a beginner knitter. I found it to be a bit tough to use. I recommend getting a few mix under your belt before leaping into this. I also feel like this yarn shed significantly more when knitting with it than it did when I was crocheting. All in all, I give this yarn 5 stars for a crochet project and 3 stars for a knit project. Also, I think this would be a perfect yarn for almost any aerial crochet pattern, but specifically her picnic net bag I made a while ago. You'd have a leg up on me when I completed this pattern because you'll have some amazing colors to choose from, and I definitely didn't. Next up is Bamboo Pop. What a fun name, right? Now, if I know y'all like I think I do, I'm sure I have some other Southern crafters watching my channel. Of course, I had to bring y'all yarn for a summer make. This lightweight yarn has a fiber content of 50% cotton and 50% bamboo. It also comes with 292 yards in every 100-gram ball. The care instructions suggest machine washing warm and drying flat. Besides this being a great option for a summer make, the other reason I wanted to share this yarn is because of the color options. Like I said, each yarn will be linked in the description box below, so check out the color selection of Bamboo Pop. I'm currently showing this yarn in the color Winter Squash, but they have the most beautiful solid colors. They also have gorgeous variegated colors, and they have a lovely selection of speckled colors. It's literally a summer crafter's dream. It's suggested that a 4mm hook be used with this yarn. As you can see, the bamboo is doing exactly what bamboo does. I'm able to glide through every stitch effortlessly. While I've worked with cotton in the past, it can be a bit fuzzy. Perhaps it's the pairing of the cotton with the bamboo in this yarn, but I absolutely adore how this yarn worked up. Again, no snagging or splitting at all with this yarn. I know my swatch I made is super tiny, but even with this tiny swatch, I can tell that if I were to make a garment with this yarn, it would have an amazing drape. When knitting with Bamboo Pop, it suggested a 3.5mm needle be used. Again, it was super easy to knit with. There was no splitting or anything. Honestly, if splitting is going to happen, it's most likely going to happen during the cast on. So this one is definitely a winner. Ignoring the fact that I had a little hiccup in the bind off, this garter stitch worked out beautifully. I can't stress enough how much of a staple summer yarn I think this could be. Universal Yarn is on a roll today because I'm giving this yarn 5 stars for knitting and crocheting. It's hard to say which pattern this yarn would be good with because I think it could work so well with so many patterns I've already made. But if I have to choose, I think this yarn would be an excellent yarn for the Etta bag. This would be perfect for carrying your fruits and vegetables to buy at your local farmer's market. But if you're in the mood for more of a garment, I highly recommend the Wisteria tee. Now that I think about it, make both of them. Wear your cute bag and your cute top to the farmer's market and wait for the compliments to pour in. Next up is Cobblestone. This isn't a typical yarn I would choose, but I'm certain this yarn would work up absolutely beautifully, which is why I wanted to include it in this unboxing video. This is more of a luxury yarn. It has a fiber content of 100% superwash merino wool. This is classified as a fine yarn and has 602 yards in every 200-gram ball. The care instructions for this yarn suggest machine washing cold and tumble drying on low heat. This yarn is 2-ply. I'm not sure if you can tell, but one yarn is variegated while the other is solid. The color combination will make any project shine. If you struggle with pairing colors like I do, using yarn like Cobblestone is sure to do the work for you. No thought needed. When crocheting with this yarn, it's suggested that anything from a 3.75 to a 4.5 hook be used. I personally decided to go with a 4.5mm hook. Right off the bat, this yarn was a joy to work with. While there are clearly two different plies in this yarn, it spun together brilliantly. There was no splitting whatsoever in making the swatch. It also didn't take long to see how gorgeous this color work looked in crochet. Hopefully y'all are seeing the vision and understanding how awesome this yarn will be for a garment. When knitting with Cobblestone, it's suggested that a 3.5 to 4mm needle be used. I again went with the largest suggested size, opting for the 4mm needle. I feel a bit like a broken record, but again, this yarn is just as fun to knit with as it is to crochet with. I feel like I'm going a little bit slow at the beginning, wondering if the yarn will split, but as you can tell, the tip of my needles are quite sharp. A few rows in, I realized how amazingly spun this yarn was. Like I said before, this is more of a luxury yarn, so I can assure you, you're getting what you pay for. Just like the crochet swatch, this color work is absolutely fabulous using a simple garter stitch. Also, while I'm suggesting patterns that could be used based on patterns I've completed in the past, know that Universal Yarn has some amazing patterns of their own. Most, if not all, the yarns featured in today's video have absolutely lovely pattern designs on the Universal Yarn website. We're on a high today. I must say, this color work did not disappoint in either swatch. Again, I have to give this yarn 5 stars for knitting and crocheting. I've said it before that I think colorwork yarns like this pair best with simple patterns. With that in mind, I would highly recommend completing the vibed ribbed pullover with this yarn and leave the colorwork to Cobblestone. Clearly, it's gonna get the job done. You ever look at a yarn and just fall in love? This is the yarn Ravello in the color Athens. This blue was hard to ignore. Thanks to y'all for giving me a new appreciation for the color blue. I had super high hopes for this Italian yarn because the fiber content consists of 75% cotton, 16% extra fine merino, and 9% recycled cashmere. 207 yards of yarn are provided in every 50-gram ball of yarn. The care instructions suggest hand washing cool and drying flat. The cashmere in this yarn is recycled from sweaters to find a second life as an eco-friendly addition to this luxurious yarn. With this yarn's depth of color, light halo, and ultra soft touch, I think Ravello might be a triple threat. A hook size of 3.25 to 3.75 millimeters is suggested for this yarn. Again, I went on the larger end of the spectrum using a 3.75 hook. I can confidently say Universal Yarn makes some smooth yarns. Y'all saw that foundation chain, right? Just like Cobblestone, it doesn't take long to see the gorgeous color work this yarn produces. As with most of the yarns featured in today's video, the items you can make with this yarn is endless. Unfortunately, you can only see my hands in this video, but just know, I was smiling from ear to ear the entire time making this swatch. Guys, it is just so pretty and it feels so darn good. I'm in love with the fact that the cashmere in this yarn is recycled from sweaters. Talk about giving something a new life. Just like with crochet, a needle size of 3.25 to 3.75 millimeters is recommended for this yarn. With how in love I was over the crochet swatch, I was more than eager to see how the knit swatch would turn out. As you can see, I'm having an easy breezy time with this cast on, which means it's going to be smooth sailing from here on out. I have one more yarn to share with y'all, and I'm not even completely done with this swatch yet, but I can't hold it in anymore. Ravello is the winner of the day for me. I hope so much that I can get my hands on this yarn. And when I do, mark my words, we're gonna make something absolutely stunning. As far as pattern suggestions, I think a yarn this gorgeous needs to be the star of whatever you make. I highly recommend making the finished shawl with this yarn. Pair the gorgeous colors of this Ravello yarn as a shawl with your favorite dress, and girl, you're ready to hit the town. For all the knitters out there, remember, even though the finished shawl is a crochet pattern, there is a sister knit pattern called the Freya shawl. That pattern should be linked in the description box of that video, and I'll link it down below as well. Last but certainly not least is Lazy Summer Cotton in the color Mustard. When I tell you I was looking out for my Southern crafters when making this video, I really wanted y'all to have excellent summer yarn suggestions, and this is the last one of the day. Again, we have the lovely color work. By now, I don't think lovely color work is a shock from Universal Yarn anymore. At this point, I expect it. This yarn has a fiber content of 46% acrylic, 49% cotton, and 5% polyester. This yarn is classified as a light yarn and comes with 164 yards for every 50-gram ball. As far as caring for this yarn, it suggests that it be machine washed and dried flat. Even though this yarn has lovely colors, I think this is a yarn that someone who loves neutrals could truly appreciate. The shades in this yarn work so well together that it almost seems like a neutral. Also, the blend of cotton, acrylic, and polyester wash and wear very well so your makes can last a lifetime. Basically, the summer cardigan you make today could be the summer cardigan your great-grandbaby's wearing years from now. For both crocheting and knitting, it's suggested that a 4mm hook and needle be used respectively. Right off the bat, I realized even though this yarn is suggested for summer makes, I also think this would be a perfect yarn for an autumn garment. As you look at the shades that are offered on their website, you'll see exactly what I mean. Some of the colors scream fall. This mustard color in particular could scream whatever you want it to scream depending on how you style it. Let's go ahead and make the knit swatch, but let's be real, we already know it's going to be beautiful. Just like with the crochet swatch, I'm using a 4mm needle. It's so funny because I could tell the yarns I really enjoyed were the ones I couldn't stop working with. When my simple swatch ended up looking almost like a dish towel, you know I'm in love. No shock here, but again, I must give this yarn 5 stars for knit and crochet. Just like Ravello, this is a yarn I would love to work with again. Honestly, I would be honored to get my hands on any of these yarns again. The pattern I would suggest using this yarn with is the Gertie cardigan. I know the appeal of this pattern is the color work, but girl, weaving in those ends is no joke. I'm sure y'all could guess, but I still haven't woven in the ends on that cardigan. I suggest making the Gertie cardigan with this yarn so that your ends weaving process is minimal. Using this yarn would let the granny stitches shine and take out a lot of the heartache in the final process. Before I let y'all go, one more thing I want to talk about when it comes to Universal Yarn is the company itself. This company is based in Harrisburg, North Carolina, and has been offering high-quality yarns for more than a decade. Their entire team is dedicated to offering the highest level of service with every single order. Universal Yarn believes in helping out their community by committing annual support to Freedom School Partners, Greater Charlotte Rise, and Charity League of Charlotte. All of these organizations help the children and families of their area succeed. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much to Universal Yarn for supplying me with this amazing yarn so I could introduce it to y'all. If you couldn't tell, today's video was not sponsored. However, the links in the description box below are affiliate links. So I will get a small amount if you do choose to purchase some Universal Yarn. And if you would like to see a sponsored video, that's definitely a possibility. Y'all just have to prove that y'all liked today's video by leaving a like, sharing it, and leaving a comment. Also, just so we're ready for a sponsored video, which Universal Yarn should I make something with first? Leave me a comment below. Until next time, see you in my next video. Bye.